There exists a simple white powder that costs almost nothing, yet it can turn dangerously contaminated water into something safe to drink in less than a minute. Not by slowly filtering it through layers of expensive materials, not by improving the flavor with some branded formula, but by completely neutralizing nearly every harmful organism found in water. We're talking about pathogens like cholera, typhoid, dysentery, giardia, cryptosporidium, E. coli, hepatitis A, all eliminated rapidly through a powerful chemical process. And here's what makes it even more surprising. This isn't some new discovery. This method has been trusted for over 80 years by military forces. It has been recommended by global health organizations. It has prevented millions upon millions of illnesses, and yet most people have never heard about it. 1 pound of this substance can be used to purify up to 10,000 gallons of unsafe water. 10,000 gallons from something that costs less than a single fast food meal. So why isn't everyone using it? Why does a world that spends hundreds of billions of dollars on bottled water and filtration systems barely talk about this? This is the story of one of the most powerful, overlooked tools in public health history. Welcome back. If you're interested in knowledge that doesn't usually get attention, make sure you're subscribed, because what you're about to hear changes how you think about something as basic as drinking water. Now let's rewind. Back to the mid-1800s, London, 1854. The city is being devastated by a deadly cholera outbreak. Entire neighborhoods are collapsing under the speed and severity of the disease. People aren't just getting sick, they're dying within hours. At the time, most experts believed diseases like cholera spread through bad air, something they called miasma. But one physician wasn't convinced. His name was John Snow. Instead of following popular belief, he began collecting data. Carefully, methodically. He mapped every cholera death in one area of London, marking each case on a street map. What he discovered changed everything. The deaths weren't random. They were concentrated around a single water pump on Broad Street. Snow presented his findings and insisted that the pump handle be removed. Reluctantly, officials agreed, and within days, the outbreak stopped. That moment is now considered the birth of modern epidemiology. But here's what most people don't hear about. Around the same time, scientists were experimenting with chlorine compounds as a way to disinfect water. They already knew chlorine could destroy organic material. The question was whether it could be used safely and effectively in drinking water. One compound stood out, calcium hypochlorite. Unlike chlorine gas, it was stable, easy to store, and simple to transport. By the late 1800s, it began to be used in real-world situations. In 1897, during a typhoid outbreak in Maidstone, England, water was treated using this compound. The results were immediate. Typhoid cases dropped dramatically within weeks. Not years, weeks. Then, in 1908, Jersey City became the first city in the United States to adopt continuous water chlorination. Within just 2 years, typhoid rates dropped by about 75%. By the early 20th century, this method had spread across hundreds of cities, and the impact was enormous. Public health officials estimated that tens of millions of illnesses were prevented thanks to water chlorination, all from a simple chemical compound. Then came war. During World War I, soldiers faced a major challenge: access to clean water. Natural water sources in battle zones were often contaminated. The solution? Portable purification using chlorine-based compounds. By World War II, this approach became standard. Soldiers carried tablets derived from the same chemistry. They could treat water from rivers, puddles, or any questionable source, and drink it safely within minutes. This wasn't experimental. It was reliable. It was proven, and it became essential for survival. Now let's talk about why this works so well. When calcium hypochlorite is added to water, it forms a compound called hypochlorous acid. This is the key. Hypochlorous acid is extremely effective at destroying microorganisms. It works by breaking down critical components inside cells. When it comes into contact with bacteria or viruses, it penetrates their outer structure and disrupts their internal systems. It essentially shuts down their ability to function. They can't reproduce. They can't maintain themselves. They die. And it happens fast. Not over hours, not even over minutes in some cases. Seconds. What makes this even more powerful is that it works across a wide range of pathogens. Unlike antibiotics, which target specific mechanisms, this process attacks something all microorganisms depend on: basic cellular function. That's why resistance doesn't develop. Over more than a century of use, pathogens have adapted to many treatments, but not this one, because the chemistry targets something fundamental to life itself. Now let's put numbers to this. Very small concentrations of chlorine in water can eliminate over 99.9% of certain organisms. In some cases, over 99.99%. And this isn't theoretical. These are real-world standards used by major health organizations. Which brings us to something interesting. Despite how effective, cheap, and widely supported this method is, most people still rely on expensive alternatives. Think about it. Water filters that cost hundreds of dollars. Replacement cartridges every few months. Bottled water sold at a premium. Portable filtration devices for travel and emergencies. All of these industries together generate massive revenue every year. Hundreds of billions of dollars. And all of them depend on one idea: that clean drinking water is complicated, that it requires advanced systems, that it needs specialized products. But what if that assumption isn't entirely true? Let's compare. A typical household filtration system might cost a few $100s up front, plus ongoing maintenance. Bottled water adds up quickly over time. Even smaller devices for outdoor use can cost a significant amount. Now compare that to calcium hypochlorite. A small amount can treat thousands of gallons of water. Stored properly, it lasts for years. It doesn't require electricity. It doesn't require complex equipment, and it works fast. So why isn't this common knowledge? The answer isn't that it's hidden. The information is publicly available. Health organizations publish guidelines. Government agencies include it in emergency recommendations. Military manuals describe exactly how to use it. But it's not widely talked about in everyday consumer spaces, because it doesn't fit into a high-profit model. It's simple, it's inexpensive, and it doesn't require repeat purchases at the same scale. Still, when real emergencies happen, this is often what gets used. After major natural disasters, when infrastructure is damaged and clean water is scarce, chemical disinfection becomes one of the primary solutions. Because it's practical, it's scalable, and it works. The same goes for humanitarian efforts in areas facing outbreaks of waterborne diseases. Simple treatment methods using chlorine compounds have helped control some of the most serious public health crises. Now here's the practical side. The process itself is straightforward. First, a small amount of calcium hypochlorite is dissolved in water to create a concentrated solution. This solution is then diluted further into the water you want to treat. After mixing, you wait for a short period, typically around 30 minutes. That's it. The water becomes safe to drink. If the water is cloudy, it can be filtered through cloth first. If needed, the dose can be adjusted slightly. And you'll often notice a faint chlorine smell, which is actually a sign that the process is working. It's simple enough that it can be done almost anywhere. At home, in the outdoors, in emergency situations, with minimal tools. Now think about that for a moment. A method that can provide safe drinking water almost anywhere. That costs very little. That has been validated for over a century. And that continues to be used by experts around the world, yet it's rarely part of everyday conversation. Some knowledge doesn't disappear because it's wrong. Sometimes it just gets overshadowed by more visible, more marketable solutions. But the reality remains. Safe water is not an unsolvable problem. It never has been. From early discoveries in disease tracking, to the development of chemical treatment, to large-scale public health implementation, the solution has been refined again and again. And often it comes back to the same thing: a simple, effective compound, reliable, accessible, and powerful. So next time you think about water, how you get it, how you treat it, how you trust it, remember this. The answer might not be as complicated as it seems. Sometimes it's been sitting quietly on a shelf all along. If this changed how you see something as basic as drinking water, share it with someone else. Because the most important knowledge isn't always the most advertised, and there's always more.